good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to your new cozy corner on the internet. My name is Kathy. Thank you for watching. So today we're going to do a January wrap-up and just go over all the things I've read, watched, listened to, whatever. So first we're going to start off with our books. I have this giant stack, which is not that giant. It's 10 books. So we're going to go through all of them. I have my Kindle here because I read one of my books on my Kindle. So my Kindle read was They Used to Live Here, and I think I gave it 4 stars. Let's see what I actually gave it. Yeah, We Used to Live Here. I gave it 4 stars, and I said, I feel like House of Leaves and Twin Peaks had a baby and gave me a headache. So I really enjoyed this book. Oh, it's by Marcus Kleiwer. Sorry, I should have looked it up beforehand. In this book, there's this couple. They purchase a house. They're like house flippers. And then one day, this man and his family show up and they're like, we used to live here. Can I give my family a tour? And the woman says, yeah, sure. After much hesitation, she doesn't just like open the door. So then the family starts to view the house and things start to go awry. This book is full of like Morse code anagrams, and there's like a, what is it, RPG game to it on Reddit, but it's like live action, so you can email the links on the website, email the links in the book. There's just like a lot. I think it was really good. If you liked House of Leaves, I've never read it, but that's what I assume it's like. But I love Twin Peaks, so it also has that same vibe. The way it ended leads me to think that there's going to be another book, but I'm not too sure about that. The plot, it's actually, in my opinion, very well done. For some people, it may not be, just because the more you uncover, the less you know. So it's like the less you know, the better. The eeriness, however, like I would read it before bed and I would start getting scared. I would have to like turn off my Kindle and go to sleep because it was amping me up, and I didn't need that before bed. And then I spent like another 30 minutes after finishing on the Reddit page for it. If you're someone who likes puzzles, again, House of Leaves, Twin Peaks, that genre of like thriller, mystery, I wouldn't say it's horror, but you get that same sentiment, like psychological. It's very psychological. You would like this book. And I would definitely read a sequel if there was a sequel. I'm just not gonna LARP. You took 30 minutes of my life on Reddit. I don't want to do more, you know? I also read White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I've never read Russian literature before, and I thought, you know, this could be it. This could be my chance. I don't think it is. I don't think I'm a Russian lit girly. I don't think it's for me. I also don't remember what happened, which is kind of rough because it's so short. So in White Nights, there's also a second short story here. Oh, I do have some quotes highlighted on the book. White Nights, it's about this man who meets this woman, Nastenka, and he basically becomes infatuated with her. He's never been with a woman. He's never talked to a woman. He's never dated. So he, again, becomes infatuated with her, and they meet over a period of, I believe, 4 nights. And in those nights, she is hung up on her former lover, who she thinks abandoned her. With that being said, our main character starts to, like, swoop in, and he's like, but, like, I'll help you get over him, you know? And it gave me the ick. It gave me the ick, like, what is going on here? I really hope my audio is good. I'd be upset if it's not. Anyways, basically he's a dreamer. He's in his mind all the time. He's more frivolous and basically a charlatan, in my opinion. Sorry to all the White Nights enjoyers. I'm pretty sure I also gave it 3 stars. Let me look. Yeah, 3 stars. I just don't think it just wasn't for me. And maybe I'll try Dostoevsky again. Who knows? I also read Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield, and I read this because it is a sapphic horror. One of our female leads goes on an undersea expedition that goes awry, and on her way back up, she is changed, permanently altered. I have qualms with this book because it is more literary than it is horror, so I went in expecting horrific actions, or we're going to see what happened in the exploration, why this woman is suffering from PTSD. Except we don't really get that. We have I don't remember their name. It's Leah and Miri. Miri, it becomes the caretaker of Leah after her expedition, and we learn through Miri their past, and that's supposed to build up why this matters to us, their love, their adoration for one another. Except I did not feel that at all. It was I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't living up to my standards. Then we have Leah. Her parts of the book, because it's multiple perspectives, her chapters were great. The ambiance was great. But then once you get into that ambiance, into what might have happened to her in the expedition, you're back into Miri's perspective and you never know what happens. And it just fell short. I think maybe if it was a little longer and we had more from Leah's perspective, that would be best. And I don't want to say this is a bad book because obviously reading is subjective, but I think what it tried to do, it did not excel in. And if that means, and if the intent was to showcase how much PTSD and all these different emotional expectations that come with a partnership, with a relationship, and how that impacts you and the caretaker, I don't think it did that. Personally, I think Shark Heart by Emily Habeck did that much better. And that, again, was more literary as opposed to horror. Maybe if they didn't pitch this as a clear-cut horror sci-fi, I would have liked it better. I don't know. The next thing I read was Convenience Store Women by Sayaka Murata. I really enjoyed this book more than I expected. I don't know if I said this, but I gave Our Wives Under the Sea 3 stars, and I also gave this 3 stars. My 3 stars are just very much, I liked it, it was okay, or didn't really like it, but I could see the vision. So do with that what you will. So Convenience Store Women, we follow our 36-year-old main character, Keiko. She, I think, is autistic, and her community is consistently trying to fix her, make her fit in better, make her be better in their eyes, but she's not getting it. She doesn't understand why that's not working for her. So she's worked at the same convenience store for 18 years, and she's become a part of the convenience store. Not literally, but it's like part of her identity. That is something where she doesn't have to fix herself. She can show up as who she is, and she will be welcomed for that. I think this was an interesting exploration on societal expectations and how we treat those we deem other. Next book I'm going to hold up was my biggest flop of the year. I'm so annoyed at it, actually. But it's Queen and Conqueror by Isabel Olmo. This is a fantasy book. No, actually don't. Why do I keep calling it a fantasy book? What genre is this? Yeah, this is an epic fantasy novel, except there's nothing fantastical. Oh, I guess they're seers and witches. This was 500 pages of nonsense, and I am here to tell you why. First and foremost, the synopsis doesn't tell you anything. So I thought, you know what, it's going to be good vibes. They're making me go in blind. So we have Almira's father, who raised her in political cunning. Almira is the queen. We have King Alton, the brother killer, and we learn why he killed his brother. The perfect seamstress, okay. The queen's red guard. Warrior women all have one purpose: to protect the queen at all costs, even from her husband, even from herself. Again, okay. So this is like your stereotypical plot where woman marries man, there's a war, they fall in love. Except the this may be your style, it just wasn't for me. I've seen it pitched as like a feminist Game of Thrones, and I've never watched Game of Thrones. I do know that it's vulgar, there's incest, a lot of abuse, so if you like that, you'll like this, which is like a weird thing to say. And maybe there's dragons, I don't know, so that might be the comparison. There were no dragons in this book. The book is very vulgar for vulgarity's sake. There's no reason for it to be so vulgar at all, and I'm not a prude by any means. I read romances, I read smut. That's not a thing. Sometimes you should kind of let us know, like, what does it do for the plot? What does it do for the characters? Except show us that they're vulgar. Like, even her loving and doting father, the way he spoke to her was disgusting. I was like, you're the best man in the world, and you talk to your child like this? No. Also, the dialogue is very awkward. It feels like it wants to be old-timey, but slightly modern. Yeah. And I was like 350 something pages in and nothing was happening. So I probably should have DNF'd this, but I didn't. I gave that 2 stars, by the way. January was kind of a flop for me because I'm trying to read my physical TBR and prioritize that. But a lot of the books I have on here, I just bought because they were popular back in the day or they sounded interesting and I didn't do my research, which is why we have our flops. Which leads us into our next book, Twisted Hate by Ana Huang. Can you see that? Indie published. So I've had this on my shelves for a while. I hated this. Again, I bought this before I even knew what I liked in books. I bought the first 3 books in the series: Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and they just got progressively worse. So in this one we have the brother, I don't care what's his name, Josh, who's the brother of his sister in the first book. I don't know her name. I did at one point. I just don't care. And Jules, they hate each other. Oh, enemies to lovers. Shh. When it comes to third act breakups and betrayals and disagreements, some things are not forgivable. Things that happen in here, not forgivable. That's all I'm gonna say. 2 stars, by the way. The next book, though, my first 5-star of the year. How stunning this is. The guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all, by Sumiko Arai. First, let me tell you, if you like Heartstopper, you're gonna love this. Just read it. So we have Aya, who's our little like preppy girly, and then we have Mitsuki, who's our edgy girly. And the premise of this is Aya, she's not like other girls. She loves rock, punk, so it doesn't necessarily fit in with her classmates. She enters a record shop and starts crushing on the boy that works there. Except the boy who works there is Mitsuki, her classmate. And we learn as our characters learn that maybe gender doesn't matter the way people think it does, you know? Love is love, bro. Again, these are high school students, so it was very cute, very lovable. I was giggling, read this. Oh, also, don't get me started on the art style. It's like neon green. Oh my god. It was so good. You guys have to read this. I literally pre-ordered the 2nd volume. It was that good. Oh my god, I love this book. I'm gonna reread it. It's so... Okay, there is this one scene. Let's see. Okay, this scene right here where they're giving the number. Yeah, I cried. It was so cute. I also read Monstrilio by Geraldo Samano Cordova. It was also really good. I listened to the audiobook for this and I think that was a great way to go. So this story is told in different perspectives. So it's told in the perspective of Magos, the mom. I forgot what the dad's name was. It's Magos, the dad, their friend, and then Monstrilio is the final perspective in this. If you like the movie The Babadook, I think you'll love this. Magos and her husband's son dies. She is struck with grief and in the desire and need to save something from her son, she cuts out a piece of his lung. That lung then becomes Monstrilio. There's a lot of queer representation in this, so if you're looking for queer books written by Latino authors, I have the answer for you. I really enjoyed this book because it just showcases the various different forms grief can take, and sometimes that grief can be so insurmountable that you cannot withhold it within you. You need to let it out, whatever way that seems. And I also think there's like very great analogies of like repressing sexuality, repressing who you are. If you're someone who wants, again, more of that literary lens on horror, the writing style was great. My only kind of issue with it is that you don't know whose perspective you're reading. My experience, who you're listening to. You do because like the voices change, but there was a part in it where I was like, who? So I think with like better headings, you could have been able to follow it a little bit clearer, but I also think that was intentional. So it's a great book. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm interested to read more by this author. Will I get demonetized? Next, I read Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. This is another book I had on my shelf for years. So 6 books I've read so far were from my existing TBR, which is good. It's pretty good. In this book, we follow a stay-at-home mom who believes she's becoming a dog. I love this book. I listened to the audiobook, which I think is the best way to go for this one. I've read some reviews that say she didn't use quotation marks to distinguish dialogue. So if that is something that bothers you, maybe don't physically read it and listen to the audiobook instead. I love this book, as I did with a couple other ones. I gave it 4 stars. This is one of the most raw, pun intended, descriptions and visualizations of motherhood that isn't necessarily spoken about. Oftentimes, women are told the beauty of motherhood, of pregnancy, but not so much the cons, and I think this highlights everything that's hidden behind closed doors. Our main character, we don't know her name, and I also think that was intentional, so it's more of like, we can all be this person. We can all get lost in an identity as a parent. Our main character was a former artist who let go of her job to take care of her son, while her husband was away being the breadwinner, quote unquote. In her changes in becoming a dog, I believe that is more of a metaphor. It's a metaphor, Hazel, for gaining her identity back, becoming who she was before motherhood, and like the hair growing back, the ferociousness in which she's reclaiming her femininity or lack thereof. It was great. I did watch the movie this month on this, and it was not good. Sorry for any angle changes. I got interrupted. The first book I read this year was a reread, and that was Caraval. I love Caraval so much. I think it's one of my favorite YA fantasies. At least one of my favorites that I've read in a long time. I don't even know how to describe Caraval. I just love it so bad. So we have our main characters, Scarlett and her sister Donatella, who get whisked away to this island to participate in Caraval. There's a puzzle basically they have to solve, and you get your wish granted. And the catch is that like everything that happens isn't necessarily real because it's part of Caraval. It's like a comfort read for me. I always read it when I need just something to carry me over because it's so fun. It's whimsical. The writing is very fairy tale like, so if you like getting swept up in, I don't know, in the descriptions of food and clothing and everything that's going on in Caraval, but also if you like books where nothing is really what it seems and you have to question everything, and if it's real, if it's not real, will this have lasting impacts, will it not? So these are all the books I read this month. In these wrap-ups, I also kind of want to discuss movies I've watched and songs I've listened to because I think it would be cool to just track it. So in movies, I'm going to pull up Letterboxd, which I'll link below if y'all want to follow. So far, I've watched 7 movies this year, which can be a lot for some, can be none for others. The first movie I watched this year was 13 Going on 30. I gave it 5 stars, obviously. Then I watched Night Bitch because I read the book and gave that 2.5 stars. It was not good. Obviously, the book was better than the movie. There's just things you can't translate with a book of this nature. I also didn't like how they changed the ending in the movie as opposed to the ending in the book. I think the book harnessed that female liberation as opposed to the movie. Then I watched The Watchers and gave that 1.5 stars. The Watchers, there's like this house in the woods that people go to, get lost in, and then there's these things, it's like fairies, fae, changeling, whatever you know them by in folklore. They try to kill these people, and it was a bad movie. The twist you could spot 1 hour into 1 minute into the movie, you already know the plot and the twist and everything that's coming. Then I watched The Idea of You, which is the Harry Styles fanfic with Anne Hathaway. So obviously I was going to watch it. I gave that 3.5 stars. I was surprisingly shocked. Well, that was redundant. I was surprisingly amused by how much I enjoyed the book because I watched After, not good. I read After, not good. But the angst in this is kind of giving. So I downloaded the book because I want to read it. Then I watched Red, White, and Royal Blue and gave that 3.5 stars as well. Way funnier than I anticipated. I never read the book. I just know it's popular. Yeah, it was just so funny. It was so funny. The president's son reminds me so much of Alex Wolff that I was having a little bit of a hey moment because I low-key stan Alex Wolff. A little bit. Not really, but like I do like, hey. Then I watched The Heiress blacklisted her husband, which is 1.5 star. I can explain this. So on Facebook, you know, or maybe you don't know, when you're scrolling, you get some of these like short drama things. They're so poorly acted, but the drama is so good that I get hooked. They sink its claws in me. And it was so funny because they have like, the I don't know where the movie was filmed, but they have like an Australian, New Zealand accent, I believe. They would just slip into that throughout it, even though they're American. It was not good. Oh, the premise for this one. So this heiress pretended she was poor and fell in love with this guy, and then his family like bullies her a lot, so she thinks he's cheating on her because he got another woman pregnant, and they divorce, and he's trying to win her back, and then there's like an assassination attempt. And then I watched Wolfman, or The Wolfman? Nope, just Wolfman, which is like, it was very on the nose with intergenerational trauma and how that passes between families, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't do that good in ensuring we didn't like the father figure, the man who becomes Wolfman, because he was a good dad. He's a good man, Savannah. He was attentive to his daughter even when he was becoming this wolf. His daughter had a very strong bond with him. He was the default parent throughout the film. Like, it just, the metaphor didn't land because they made him too good of a dad. Team Jacob. Yes, that's all I have for movies. And then for songs, let's see what my top songs were. I did Receptify, so I'll try to add a photo here of it. My most played song this month was Lo que le pasó a Hawaii by Bad Bunny. Then Last Heartbreak Song featuring Giveon by Ira Star. Number 3 was Debí tirar más fotos by Bad Bunny. Then number 4 was Would You Fall in Love with Me Again from Epic the Musical. Do y'all love Epic the Musical? Because I love Epic the Musical. I listen to it every day. It's a problem. Thanks for watching. I'll hope to post again. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe I'll do more on my channel. I don't know. I'm just... Bye.